My name is Elise Mendel, and I'm the Director of Graduate Career Services at Baruch College's Weissman School of Arts and Sciences. I am very excited to kick off our Industrial Organizational Psychology Career Information Sessions. And today is the first one we're doing of several. And I'm very happy to introduce Eric Newson, and he is with Glint. And I'm going to turn it over to Eric. And just, I'm just going to lay out the format a little bit for everybody to know what's happening. Eric will do like about 15, 20 minute, whatever presentation as long as he needs to. And then we're going to open it up for questions. How that will look though is I'm going to ask everyone to put their questions in chat, and I'll look through the questions and I'll say as many as I can representing you. So we'll leave the mute buttons will stay on, but once we go into the questions, I'm going to ask everybody if they would be so kind as to show their audio. It's just nice to see everybody that we're speaking to. You could do so now as well, actually, not your audio, I'm sorry, your video. Let me say that again. So show your video if you feel comfortable enough. We're just hoping that we get to see everybody. But we're going to keep everybody on mute. And I'll look at the chat and ask questions. All righty then, Eric, I turn it over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am Eric. I work at Glint. I'll talk to you a little bit today about what Glint is, what kinds of roles we hire for, how we embed IO into the work that we do. Yeah, and then I'm excited to hear what questions and thoughts you have and connect with each of you afterwards as well. I hope you're all hanging in and doing well at home. It's been an adjustment for all of us from a work perspective, from a school perspective. So I hope everyone's doing well. And it's actually quite a fascinating time to be doing and studying the work that we are because the nature of work is changing every day. And so it's ever more important for us to understand what's going on in the experience and engagement of employees. So really, really cool time to be exploring the ideas and concepts that we do as IO psychologists. So first, a little bit about me. So like I said, I work at Glint. I'll talk a little bit about what Glint is in a moment. But what I do there is conduct cross-client research. So Glint is a technology platform that allows organizations to explore the engagement, performance management, and learning processes that they roll out in their organizations. And the result of that is very large-scale data across many, many different companies around the globe. And so the work that I do is focused on bringing all that data together to generate insights that are globally relevant. So how do we, as Glint, with access to all of this data, in fact, we're talking, tens and tens and tens of millions of survey responses, many, many, many more individual data points, and the average sample size for an applied psychology study is somewhere around like 150 people, maybe. So the scale of our data is quite large, and it presents a really valuable opportunity for us to conduct research at a level of scale and rigor that is quite hard in sort of a lab environment, which is super exciting for us and for the field at large. So I'm actually a grad of the Baruch College IO PhD program. I studied goals and skills when I was there. I started the program in 2012, left and graduated in 2018, and worked with a couple of professors while I was there. Just a really wonderful program experience, super supportive colleagues and faculty. I've spent, in terms of my professional career, I've spent a little over 8 years in the broader analytics space, and 5 specifically in the people analytics space, so specific to HR, and applying research and analytics methodologies in the HR space. in my career path towards the end of my doctoral program, kicked off at JetBlue on the people assessment team there, building and validating hiring assessments for all of JetBlue's frontline roles. That includes pilots, flight attendants, ticket and gate agents, anyone you see when you go to the airport that is an employee of JetBlue. From there, I moved on to an HR tech company called Namely, where I built out an internal people analytics function that we over time ended up productizing. So what that means is we built analytics and analytic processes internally. And then as an HR technology company, we figured out how to turn those into products and services that we could actually bring on to our clients. So I spent a little over 3 years there, and then just back in October, I joined Glint. And it's been a wonderful experience so far. Glint, for those of you who don't know, was acquired by LinkedIn back in 2018. And so it presents a really unique opportunity to bring together sort of internal employee engagement data and the insight that LinkedIn has about the workforce at large. So today I'll just touch on what is Glint in a little more detail. I have a few videos to show you. I think they're more exciting than anything that I could say or any interesting ideas I could put out there. We have just a wonderful company and team, and I'd rather put those wonderful people in front of you. I'll talk through what is people science. That's the team that I'm on, and the team that is predominantly IO focused. A little bit about like who the people are, how they feel about working on the team, and then we'll pause for Q&A. Oh, and also like what roles IOs sit in on our teams. So Glint's mission is to help people be happier and more successful at work. And we do that by leveraging a bunch of technologies that we've built and brought together. So some of you may have read some of the work on employee engagement in your studies. Historically, engagement surveys were administered mostly through consulting providers. So these are just consulting firms. More recently, we've seen the emergence of technology, just survey platforms that have emerged that can be used to administer engagement surveys. And Glint is actually, Glint uses a hybrid model where we have consultant team, but we marry that with really clean, easy to understand, powerful, and sort of artificial intelligence driven technology. And together these things, we believe, make the difference between us and sort of the history of employee engagement. Just quickly, a little bit about our platform. We have, top left is engagement surveys that touch on like moment in time pulses. So how are employees feeling right now, but also what we call life cycle pulses, where we actually want to know how you're feeling right when you start the job, when you're in the middle of your job, perhaps when you're leaving your job. We also want to be able to explore what the experience looks like across not just employees, but also managers and leaders. We also, in the last year, released a performance management product. So that focuses heavily on promoting conversations between managers and employees, rather than focusing so vigorously on ratings. We actually promote the use of more qualitative conversations, exploring performance and how feedback can be leveraged to actually improve, not just through some quantitative measurement, which we also have, but actually emphasizing like the actual experience of employees and the ways they can modify that experience to perform better. And the combination of these things is what we call people success. So engagement, performance, and there's actually a third piece, which is not in here, which is related to learning. So how do we create a space where employees feel comfortable, safe, and empowered to grow and develop their skills? I won't go into any detail here. A couple of quick screenshots. We have surveys and dashboards that we roll out to companies and managers. And I'll talk a bit about our consulting work in a moment. Those consultants are the people that walk our clients through these different views of their data and help them interpret and consume that data. But first, for this to sort of make sense, I want to bring up a video. Hopefully this works. When we were testing the volume, when I press play, it might be a little loud for some of you, so just be ready to dial that back if it is a little too loud for you. So this is a customer that we work with named Mimecast. And I think it just illustrates a bit about what Glint looks like when it's rolled out in a workplace.
Mimecast's mission is to help customers secure their employees' data, their reputation, their intellectual property, and their customers' data.
So our strategy is really around how do we help customers become more cyber resilient, starting with email security at the core and building out from that.
While it's a technology solution, we really see ourselves playing a key role in society.
Our entire operating model globally is now oriented towards delivering legendary customer success.
It's the idea of we are going to go above and beyond for our customers' needs, and we're going to make sure that they're happy at the end of the day.
What we've done at Mimecast is we've mapped the customer journey, and we've identified 13 key touch points along the customer journey, and we measure how we're doing at each of those key touch points. And I think what Glint gives us is the equivalent for our employees.
One of the great things about Glint is that it provided a very easy way of communicating the data.
The HR business partner historically didn't have as much information at their fingertips, and with the addition of Glint, we now have a lot of information that we can use to help the business leaders plan.
The biggest change at Mimecast since we adopted Glint is the insight and the ability for us to launch initiatives to dramatically improve employee engagement.
And I think if you have an engaged workforce and a workforce that enjoys working together and has fun together, you're going to see better results.
One of the features of Glint that we really like is the comments bubble, and that they are coded. They give an indication of where to focus.
It's not just a number, it's the employees telling us what they really feel.
Let's be honest, not everything we read about in our Glint surveys is sort of happy reading. But then once you take it all in and you realize it's that tough stuff that we learn the most from, that's actually what makes our organization better.
What came through on one of the Glint surveys was that people were feeling very disconnected from the strategic vision for both customer operations and the business. So we doubled down on better communication, and that has made a world of difference. Now, when we get the feedback on the Glint surveys, people are saying they're feeling much more connected.
So ensuring that our employees are happy and feel like they have a career here and that they can do their job successfully pays for itself tenfold.
I think being a part of that culture of engagement and collaboration, it makes Mimecast a really super special place to work.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And cut.
All right. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what it feels like when Glint is used in a workplace, the kinds of things that our managers can see and interact with and learn about their workforce. But perhaps more importantly, and the reason that I'm here talking to you today, is to explain how we marry that technology with IO science, practice, and consulting, because that's where people like yourselves come in. So another quick video here. This is members of our team explaining what this idea of people science is.
People science is the study and practice of happiness at work.
And people science is the study of all the aspects of the employee experience, the organizational context, the culture, the impact of leadership, and puts that all together in scientific ways that you can extract out of it what's most motivating to people.
It's about teaching people how to think differently. How do you take a problem that might have felt intractable or just inherent to your culture and reframe it and make it feel more addressable?
We use people data and people insights to tell leaders and executives a story on their terms.
We use people's feedback to help leaders make better decisions about the things that are going to make their organization more successful.
The most exciting thing to me about leading the people science team is to get to watch the commitment that all these experts make to challenging every assumption they've ever made about the way this industry works in order to find a better way. These are folks who are industry legends, and here we ask them to be humble. And the people on this people science team do that eagerly and willingly, and it just creates a wonderful culture.
I would describe the team as curious and passionate and motivated and bold, and that really makes me a better consultant, a better professional, a better teammate and manager, and just a better person.
All right. So as I said, our Glint's approach is basically to bring in experts like yourselves, the IO psychologists, help bridge the gap between those experts and the technology that we've built, and then empower our customers to become better versions of themselves. Here's a quick shot of the team. This shot was taken actually probably like a year and a half ago, and the team has since, I believe, at least doubled in size. So there's quite a few more people. We hire IO psychologists literally around the globe. So the people science team spans from the West Coast, sprinkled around the middle of the country, to East Coast. We have representation in Europe, in a couple different parts of Europe. And most recently, we opened up a people science practice in Singapore to address growing needs in Asia, and specifically Southeast Asia. So we literally are a global team. A number of consultants work remotely as well. And so we're pretty versatile in our hiring practices. And I will also say I've never worked for an organization that is more clear about like just wanting the best people to come in. Doesn't matter if you're in Wichita, or it doesn't matter where you are. Like, if you meet the criteria, you're firing on all cylinders as an IO practitioner, we're interested in having you join. So really, really wonderful team, deep experience, and just a lovely group. I'll show you this last 2-minute clip with a couple people just describing what they love about the team. And then I'll wrap up with the details about what roles we hire for and what those look like in practice.
I love being a part of the people science. I love being a part of the people science team because every member of this team is so driven by our mission and by our vision of bringing more humanity to the world of work. And we bring that into everything that we do and everything that we design for our customers.
What I love about being part of the people science team is our mission, right? We are driving really a happier world where people enjoy going to work.
What I love about being on the people science team is not only the great people I get to work with, but our shared commitment to the vision, to the mission of making people more happy and successful at work.
I really love people science because unlike what used to be called workforce research when I first started doing this, it's really the study and the embracing of the individual within an organization. So you combine the psychology of individuals and organizations, you look at how people think about their work, what motivates them intrinsically and extrinsically, and how they fit into the organization. It's really looking at that relationship much more holistically. So people science takes a look at what used to be human capital and studies it as human beings.
I actually get to work very closely with the product team to help think about how we can bring together people science with technology to help solve problems for our customers and to help people be happier and more successful at work.
I love being on the people science team because I get a chance to help executives create focus, to really instill a discipline in the way they approach how they make people feel happier and more successful at work, and to actually coach them on what not to do and how to make the tough choices around how you get the most out of your efforts related to engagement and performance.
When I interview candidates, I always tell them this is the smartest but also the kindest group of people I've ever worked with. And it's really true. I wake up excited every day to go to work. But something that is really different about this group, but unites everybody, is how much they want to bring humanity to the world of work. This team is really aligned with the Glint mission of helping people to be happier and more successful at work, and it's just a wonderful environment to work in.
So those are all the wonderful people I have the fortune of working with, all of us in our sort of shared mission to help people become happier and more successful at work. So there's three, here's sort of the nitty gritty of, I guess, why I'm here. There's three core roles that we bring in people with IO psychology or engagement backgrounds into the organization to do. Quick caveat, because of everything that's going on in the economy right now, we're not actively hiring, but these are the roles that we will be hiring for when hiring resumes. So I will ask, like, anyone who's interested should keep an eye out on our career page, which I'll link you to at the end of this slide, and just stay in touch, because these roles will open up eventually. So the top role is consultant. You heard from a number of consultants in these videos, and they're really the customer-facing role for the people science team. So they manage a portfolio or a book of clients. They help those clients design surveys, administer and interpret those surveys, help them think through what kind of action planning might come out of this survey. How do we take the data we have and drive change from it? We like to call this transformation at Glint. In other words, taking a company that may be very traditional and lagging a bit in its practices or its perspective on what it means to be engaged at work, and actually helping them transform into a more modern, agile perspective. In other words, a company that may want to hear from their employees more than once a year, maybe 3-4 times a year. Keep tabs on how they're feeling and adapt as needed to make sure that workplace stays effective, enjoyable, and just all around firing on all cylinders. And consultants, as you heard Archana say in that video, also get to partner with product and engineering on new rollouts, right? Like, the product is based on organizational science. And so as the subject matter experts, we get to help influence the direction of that technology. The next role is people science analyst. This is a bit more technical. So on the consultant side, you're not necessarily working that often with raw data. You're more in the product, engaging with our actual technology and helping clients through that journey. The analysts handle more complex client level data analyses, like linking to business outcomes. Can we actually find the relationship between engagement and some business outcome data that the client has? Or can we link parts of the employee experience to employee attrition? In other words, their turnover, their likelihood to leave the organization. These analyses happen or are conducted by our people science analysts. They also manage our benchmarking processes, which are our benchmarks are like cross-client views of our surveys. So if we have certain survey items that are used by many clients, we can look at a global average across all clients, and then clients can understand where they stand relative to other companies in their industry or their region of the world, etc. Analysts also partner with product and engineering and serve as subject matter experts. And then the third role is researcher. So that's where I come from. That's in my function. We're just kicking off, we just formally kicked off research when I started back in October. So this is still a new dedicated function for Glint, but the idea is that the research function will conduct cross-client analyses that we actually turn into thought leadership pieces and help contribute back to IO science. So how do we use, like I said, the average applied psychology sample size was about 150 people, according to a paper I read that was published in, I think, 2016. We have millions and millions of employees on our platform. That's a huge opportunity for us to actually contribute to science. And so how do we build the processes in place to make sure we do that? And we give back to the field that helped give rise to our business, really. So, and then of course, research also partners with product and engineering. So you'll notice all of people science gets to influence product and gets to help and assist in directing the path of our business, which is really exciting and unique. So these are the 3 roles. I mean, maybe you can see yourself fitting into one of those, particularly on the research side. I would say these are probably least to most technical in terms of actual analytical rigor or sorry, analysis in terms of like technical analysis. So you might have to code your way to an analysis as a researcher, but less so as a consultant. So you may be able to see yourself in one of these roles based on the kinds of things these people are doing day to day, what their day to day looks like, and also probably the skills you're interested in either developing or maybe that you already have. We, like I said, we hire around the globe. Glint specifically is predominantly based in the US. We work out of LinkedIn's offices since our acquisition back in 2018. So I'm personally based in the Empire State Building. If you're in New York, the Glint presence in New York is based out of the Empire State Building at the LinkedIn office. But we have offices in Sunnyvale, California. We actually have one in Lincoln, Nebraska, and then of course Europe and Asia as well. When you apply, generally we like to keep candidates moving through the process. So we don't like keeping them waiting more than 7 days in any particular stage. Of course, that probably depends on how much action and movement there is going on, but we like to commit to keep candidates informed about where they are in the process on a regular basis. So like I said, as roles open up, feel free to apply and reach out. And I'm always happy to chat more about the work that we do at Glint, and the ways you might be able to contribute. So that's all I have for you. Here's the careers page link at the top. Check it out. You'll notice, like I said, at the moment, we're not hiring, so there won't be roles up there, but please bookmark it and keep an eye on it. Maybe set a reminder once a month or every few weeks to just pop over there and check it. You never know when a role is going to pop up. And feel free to keep in touch with me through the 3 forms of contact below. So I'm on Twitter, you can find me on LinkedIn, and of course you can email me as well. So I'm going to pause there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope I gave you a good sense of what we do and how we feel about what we do at Glint. And yeah, hope to chat with some of you soon.
That's great, Eric. Thank you for your presentation. I'm going to ask some questions that have been coming in while you're speaking. They may not be exactly in order. I think some are quick ones. So do you have internships?
Great question. So now that we're a part of LinkedIn, we operate through LinkedIn's internship process. The answer is yes, we are interested in developing an internship pipeline where we bring in people as interns. I'm not sure if that will happen this summer because of the hiring situation, but we absolutely are pursuing that possibility. So keep an eye. I'm not sure where all of you are in your academic journey and how close you are to work, but I do expect that would be something we're interested in the near future, at least.
Great. Okay, and is people science consultant a senior role? Does it require prior external consulting experience?
Yeah, I would say at the senior level, there is some expectation of prior, at least client management experience. I should say, like, I can't speak exactly to the requirements for that role in particular, but especially at the senior level, we would, at any, like even in an analyst role, we would probably expect some applied experience in the respective domain.
All right. Let's see. I'm fascinated by people analytics and human factors and applying them to a workforce. Can you tell me how deeply Glint gets into analyzing human factors and ergonomics?
Yeah, that's a really cool question. We don't study the physical space of the workplace. The closest we get to that would be asking about physical comfort through surveys and through our platform. So we don't study the physical elements of human factors. That seemed like it's sort of a bit aside from the domain that we see ourselves fitting in. But like really, really amazing, cool stuff going on there, especially now that I'm personally intrigued to see how that area of the discipline changes once we start moving back to work. You know, we've transitioned home in this new world of work right now, and eventually some of us, maybe not all of us, will transition back. And so, you know, who knows what the way we're going to think about work once we return to our workplace.
What kind of training would you suggest for those interested in people science consulting?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, keep an eye out on that careers page for internships, because like I said before, especially at the senior level for these roles that I spoke of, we expect some applied experience, but the idea of pursuing internships is to be able to bring in people who are looking for that entry level or sort of early applied experience. So although that internship pipeline isn't there now, I would say like some of the best things you can do as a student or early career practitioner are pursue projects on the side. So the obvious answer is like find an entry-level consulting role and work your way through that. But that aside, I think, especially while people are in school, like it's very important for students to find passion projects related to their research or and think about how those projects may be relevant in a real live workplace. And think about how you would present that to someone who's really busy in a workplace, and you have to distill your project down to like the core theme and get them to change their behavior somehow, maybe with data, if you're using data, or citing research you've read, or citing other articles and resources. Think about building a case for how to change behavior, because in doing that, you're actually practicing in many ways your what we call transformational consulting skills, which is helping a client see that the old way may not be better than the new way. Like we have the science and the proof to back up that there's value to this new perspective about how to do things. And, but we still have to sell that. We have to pitch that. And so practicing that skill, thinking about your own research, the papers you're writing for school is a great way to flex that muscle a little bit.
And what competencies then would you recommend people would gain looking to work in people science? What should they focus on?
Yeah, so it depends on the role, right? So people science analyst and people science researcher require very similar skill sets. Researcher is handling generally a larger set of data in the order of millions and millions of records. Analyst is probably within client. That might be tens of thousands of records in most cases. Even then, it's quite a bit larger than we're used to handling at the individual study level as students. But the technical skills required there are usually a little bit of like analytical programming experience. So if you've heard of R or Python, these are skills you might want to hone a bit to work your way into those paths. On the consultant side, it really is about, like, the core ones are transformational thinking. So thinking about, like, how do I take this idea I have, this paper I wrote, this study I ran, and actually persuade someone to see that they can change their behavior for the better. A manager, a leader, an organization. Stakeholder management. So that's like, honestly, at school, you guys are managing stakeholders. You're managing professors, you're managing other students and peers that you're partnering on projects with. Think about how you do that best. What are the processes you use to make sure that you're meeting everyone's needs and expectations of you when there's a whole lot of demands on you? And of course, communication. Learning how to distill really complicated ideas or projects into like their essence. So what is the core of this idea, and how do I share it with those around me in a way that makes sense, and also is empathetic to their experience or where they're coming from, their own perspective on what that issue or topic may be.
All right. And somebody's asking, how does Glint gather data? As a learning professional, big data is gathered from XAPI, whatever that is, I don't know. However, is Glint using self-reporting from the employee or chat message, sentiment analysis, and other big data within the organization?
Yes. So Glint is Glint Engage. That's what the Engage product. We also have the Perform product. Glint Engage is a survey platform, it's self-report employee, right? So a company wants to ask maybe 20 questions about different parts of the employee experience or engagement levels. An employee goes in, clicks, we've all done this, right? Clicks through a survey and submits their response. So it's self-report. As a part of that process, they also often submit comments. So for each question, you can add a comment or add a little more detail if you want. Instead of just saying, I'm a 4 out of 5 on this item, someone can type out why, or they can express a concern, or give any form of more qualitative feedback. The Glint platform has a technology that we call narrative intelligence, which takes all of the comments we get in these surveys and extracts sentiment. So is this comment sort of positive or negative? Is this person feeling good or bad about this topic? And then also, what is the topic? So now we know what they're talking about. Is it good or bad? Are they feeling good or bad about it? And lastly, which topics tend to come up together? So if burnout is coming up, maybe workload also comes up. These two come up a lot together. Now we understand what's driving that burnout. Or maybe it's family and burnout. Family, work, and burnout, right? Now we know the clash between home and work is a point of difficulty for this employee. So we are leveraging the many, many comments we're getting from employees to learn a little bit more through machine learning and artificial intelligence, exactly what is going on in their minds and their day-to-day.
Would you recommend that people pursue their PhD in IO? And do you hire people out of grad school or?
Yeah, so when we kick off the internship program, which we don't have a date for that, but it's a topic of discussion, so it's on the horizon. That would be the path for fresh out of school students to work their way into the Glint pipeline. The question of master's versus PhD is a highly personal choice. And so there's not a right answer. There I will say on people science, we have a blend of the two. Like there is not a degree requirement to work on the people science team. So that is not something that will one degree or the other will not disqualify you from working on the team. We want to bring on the best people with the best thoughts, ideas, passion, and love for what we do. And it does not matter to us if that's if you got yourself a master's or a PhD to do that. So.
How would you say Glint is reshaping itself to deal with the new normal, where many organizations will need to address their ways of operating?
Yeah, so many good questions. Now is actually perhaps the most important time for organizations to know what's going on in their employees' heads, right? So when things are status quo and we're rolling along, sometimes survey results are pretty static because we understand our processes, our values, we're moving along. When there's a moment of disruption like this for companies, it is actually the most critical time for you to be asking everyone, how are you feeling? How are you doing? LinkedIn sends out a survey every 2 weeks to all of our employees. And the first question on that survey is, how are you? That's it. It literally just, how are you doing right now? And I think that speaks volumes about how important it is for all companies just to check in right now. So like, yes, this is a moment with a lot of change and turmoil for a lot of organizations. And that is very much the reason why we are actually, we feel the value of what we do has never been greater. And that is not going to recede anytime soon as we transition back to the workplace. Some people back, some people don't. Work is likely to look very different in the future. And we expect as a result of that, it will become even more important for organizations to understand how their workforce is, how they're doing. It's as simple as that, really. I think when I see that question, every time I fill out that survey, it really hits me like this is, like I needed to be asked that as an employee, because it is a challenging time for everyone, so.
All right, I think I'm gonna ask you one last question because I know we're approaching that time. So I'm just going to the last one that says, what would you say is the most rewarding part of your work? What is possibly the most challenging or difficult part of your work?
Most rewarding is the people. The team that I work with is just incredible. It's really like, it sounds super cheesy, but it's really like a magical team to work on. Everyone is so aligned in our mission. And like, we believe it can happen, right? We can build workplaces where people are happier and where people love the work that they do. And everybody wants to do their part in achieving that. That's a really special thing because people mobilize when we need it. When the US's struggle with COVID escalated, everyone mobilized. How do we help our clients get what they need to get and do what they need to do right now? And that was across the entire team, and nobody had to be asked to step up and make sure we were taking care of the workplaces that we help to improve. So that's a really powerful moment for us. And then the challenge is, honestly, like I can only speak personally, but from a research perspective, there is so much opportunity. We have so much data, and that's just in Glint's world. Now, think about all the workforce information we have from LinkedIn as well. How do we bring these things together to really like change our understanding of the workplace? That is a very lofty goal, and there's no clear path there. And so like my biggest personal challenge is, I'm one of the people tasked with figuring out how we get there. And I could not be any more excited to do that. I am so passionate about the work that we do, but it's a lot. And we're working hard to make sure we're taking the right steps to get there. So that's a big challenge, is like, but that's the fun, right? It's a fun challenge for me, at least. I'm a nerd, so I don't know. Yeah, so I'd say that's my biggest sort of personal challenge.
Well, I guess we're going to bring this to a close. I first just want to thank you so much, Eric. This was great learning about Glint and all the work that you do. There's your contact information. So everyone could stay in touch with him. Tomorrow, for those who are interested, the New York City Department of Administrative Services is doing their information session. So you could, register for that as well. And I don't know if there's anything else to add, but I just hope everybody stays safe and keep on pushing forward and keep on building your network. And this is one key way to do that. And that's what's key these days, is to keep building your network. So again, thank you so much, Eric. Really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you so much, everyone.
Virtual applause. All right.
Thanks, team.
So,
stay in touch, reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to be a resource or just chat about my experience. So
yeah,
take care.
So appreciate it. All right. Bye, everybody.